Mic check, mic check. What's going on, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am so glad that you are here. It is good that you're here. We got an incredible session planned for everyone. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Classic intro. Was that a back door, by the way? Was this someone mentioned over here? Sorry, someone. So Leslie, no, SS is saying that they introduced the bill as a Mexican CBDC. I was looking at this as I was making myself an Americano right before going live with you all. And, I didn't really see any, I don't know. I was just wondering myself, like, is she rallying the support of Bitcoiners and doing Bitcoin things? Or what's going on over here? I'm not really sure. I'm going to stand back, wait for a little bit more clarity on the issue, see what happens. No one's talking about it here in Mexico, so we'll find out what happens. I don't think that El Presidente is in much of a mood to be giving up his access to the pesos. We'll find out what happened. That was the difference of El Salvador. When someone is orange pilled at the top, they can't help but want what's best for their people. Here in Mexico, unfortunately, we deal with a lot of corruption. I don't know. I mean, I guess cautiously cautious on that one. We'll see what happens. Leslie over in Paris at Blockchain Week. That's beautiful. I hope you have a fantastic time. Please share with us any of the panels that you find really interesting. I've been still watching a lot of the stuff on Bitcoin mining from the Bitcoin conference, on hardware wallets, really interesting stuff. So much content. You can find it on Bitcoin Magazine on YouTube. I know. I you know what? A lot of politicians. Did you see the whoever the new mayor of New York is? He started running. He's like, oh, I'm a Bitcoiner. He's no Bitcoiner. We got to be careful. All I'm saying, SS, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. We just got to be careful about people and what their intentions are. And Salinas, though, in Mexico, you saw him in El Salvador a couple of weeks ago, boots on the ground, making sure, I am sure, to do whatever it takes to make the bond offering, the Volcano bond, a success. And there are some Mexicans really doing a good job making sure that their country, that their people are protected going forward. Anyway, let's take a look at what's going on over here. We're seeing Bitcoin on a little bit of a bounce, and most people are happy to see that, I'm sure, unless you're short Bitcoin, by the way. Like all the bears, as we're down into support. We looked at that little support later in yesterday's session. We'll look at that in 1 second. I imagine seeing Bitcoin rise 2%, 3% is not a good feeling if you are short the Bitcoin. Nevertheless, what we're looking at today is the 10-year coming off, the 10-year going parabolic. We watched over here together. This was summer sessions in CTM, and we were talking about how the 10-year was going to, the most important trend line in the 10-year we talked about at the time. And look how beautiful and technical this has been trading. And we've been monitoring these breakouts along the way. And then you see right here, this is beautiful, right? Horizontal breakout, by the way, the trend line breakout, giving much better signal. Here's a touch, there's the breakout. But here's the horizontal. And when we really broke out, retest, resumed off, came in for that hard retest over there. That was the difference. You have people like that contrarian Hunter guy talking about yields going down to 150. I mean, a little TA goes a long way. Did you think that the 10-year was going to break down below this important horizontal trend line? I mean, no, we didn't think that at all. You would need to have broken major support. Instead, what you saw was a beautiful retest, horizontal, and then this parabolic move up. And that is pressuring all markets. That has been pressuring all markets, right? Where are we now? Well, could things go straight up? Hey, it's the markets. Really, it's the markets. Y'all remember anything could happen at any time. You saw oil go negative in 2020. Here we're seeing the 10-year going parabolic straight up. Often volatility could be deadly, right? On the upside and downside. All that we need to do is watch this. This is this trend line over here, this sell impulse. If price breaks below it, there's a good opportunity the 10-year is going to be cooling off. If that does indeed happen, it has not yet happened. You can see that we have not broken the sell impulse over here. If that does happen, do expect a relief rally across all markets. I'm talking about equity markets. I'm talking about the crypto markets. It will be risk on, and we'll call it a relief rally because right now we maintain that cautious posture. What is a cautious? What does a cautious posture mean? Right? Because of Fed policy, because the Fed is tightening, the Fed taper is tightening. Not only did the Fed taper, they're raising rates. Not only are they raising rates, regardless of what you believe, they're setting up to pull away that balance sheet runoff, quantitative tightening. And in the face of that type of policy, we are cautious and at sometimes cautiously optimistic when we have technical breakouts. Right now, Bitcoin under a little bit of pressure. We're going to talk about that and bring some strong clarity in 1 second. Before we do, let's just take a quick look at the NASDAQ. You can see over here, this is some sketching you got going on, Jordan, today. Over here, I highlighted this in yellow. I put out a Twitter, and talking about right here at this particular point, as the Fed was getting ready to raise rates, that I believed we were getting ready to put in some type of rally. I talked about the rally. I didn't know whether or not it's going to take us to new all-time highs or we're going to come back down and retest this lows. Now, this is just a breakout, a retest, right? You can see over here where my mouse is, that bit of support, resistance in this area being retested as support. It all still looks healthy. You got to give it time. I explained to you last week in the video, and I used a fractal. I like my fractals. I used a fractal going back into the NASDAQ, into the 2000 dot-com crash, and explained that if we roll over, it's probably going to be some months out. And I don't know what is going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball or anything like that. We had a good idea, though, as we were looking at peak fear coming off the Russian invasion, coming off the Fed getting ready to hike rates. And we were, because we do our research, aware of that volatility that the markets put in around that first beginning of the rate hiking cycle, and then the relief rally that happens afterwards, right? So over here, I was talking about this is the most bearish I've seen participants ever since April, May, June of 2022, when everyone thought the market was going to crash. Sure enough, we put in a bounce. And right now, you can see the equity markets here, right? Looking pretty good, right? They were worrisome right on the day, right up to May, right over there, March 16th, Fed hike rates, and that begins the rate hiking cycle. And then the market said, all right, let's go. I think this is all dependent right now on the 10-year, what happens next with the 10-year. We'll be watching this in the coming days. If we do break down, expect some type of rally on risk, except Bitcoin and crypto to be leading the charge if that does occur. A lot of people talk about, right, ever since the conference, people pick up on a line and all of a sudden everyone pretends like, everyone just adopts it. And you heard that all as Bitcoin is Bitcoin is a high beta tech stock. Well, if it is, these high beta tech stocks, they grow exponentially. You better buckle up and hold on. But Bitcoin is a lot more than that. Bitcoin is a lot of things to a lot of people. Bitcoin is a lot of things and that's what makes it Bitcoin. And at times, it is so highly correlated to the equity markets, to the stock market, to the NASDAQ. And at other times, it's not. At other times, it does Bitcoin things. And that is going to happen once again. Let's take a look at this chart, simplifying it down. And this chart is basically looking at what has taken place over the last year as Bitcoin has gone sideways. At the top over here, I have this nice channel support over here. This is a touch of the April to November high. Clone it, put it down over here, and you can see the June, July, and January and February all touching that trend line over there. This was, many of you known as the most important trend line in crypto. That is cloned over there. Thank you, Justin. And that's just showing that breakout has occurred. Now let's talk about one thing before we move forward to what happens next, to what may or may not happen next. Yeah. But people getting liquidated yesterday on the long side, today getting liquidated on the short side, and everyone's time preference is out of whack. We're going to do a good job today in hopefully resetting that and helping you stay on the right side of the most important trade that matters. It's tough out there. Lots of people are bearish. Lots of people don't understand. Lots of people, like, you ever hear the chatter? Oh, everyone now is a macro expert. Did you hear that chatter? Who was talking about it back in October? Right? Starting in December, everyone started talking about their tapering. Oh, right? Then everyone was telling, there's no way they could raise rates. There's no way they could do it. You know, listen, everyone is not an expert or anything like that. You know, do pay attention to those who have a history of getting it right. And by the way, I've been wrong many, many times in my 20 plus year career, many, many times. And I will be wrong many, many times again. But there's a difference between cutting your losses short and getting on the right side and then being able to push your winners. That's how you be successful in this game. All right, let's reset over here. Let's take a look. And what I want to point out to you, we're going to jump back down to the daily time frame, right? I'm going to make this a little bit easier to see. And first, I'm going to start over here, what happened in recent memory, just to give everyone a refresher. And then I'm going to jump back into the bear market of 2018 on Bitcoin. And then we're going to fast forward to what's happening right now. Now, I just want to point out one thing over here. From where we are right now, there has been, here we have a nice, beautiful line of repair that triggered in late December, right? And that was stop loss, right? It's either right over here at the low of the move. In this particular case, this one particular case, because of this big wick over here, we talked about the option of either having it below here, below right over here around 45 and change, or for those that wanted to put it down below the low of the wick. And we talked about, regardless of what you do, how the risk is the same. And this trade, regardless of what you used, was eventually stopped out, right? As we broke down over here in early January. As the stop losses hit, this is one attempt, one and only attempt. As the stop losses hit, you go ahead and you find the high over there and you redraw that line. I'm going to draw it down over here. The next time that we broke out over here, do you remember that beautiful entry that we set up? This was on an first Friday of the month, non-farm payrolls, right? The ad on the Twitter before the entry happened here this morning on CTM, making sure everyone was aware of it. And that over there, was that non-farm payrolls or was that a CPI print? I don't remember exactly, but it was one of those two. Nevertheless, that's number two. First attempt, second attempt, still live. Stop loss down over here underneath the low of the wick. This trade is still open. Everyone's guessing back and forth. Which way should I be? Oh, well, like you're caught in a current, in a whirlpool, going back and forth because everyone's time preference is all out of whack because you see all this this bearish fear-mongering going on because all of a sudden everyone thinks that they're an expert. And just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Now, with that in mind, 1, 2, let's go back. Let's look at the 2018 bear market. By the way, do you all remember how many were with you? How many were with me in CTM as we were before the bull market breakout? If you were looking over here, wait, let me pull up the high of Bitcoin over here from the 2016 halving. in 2017, the high of $19,000. Now, when Bitcoin was trading in this range between and $9,000, $10,000, and I was trying to prepare as many people possible for what came next, right? You remember at this point, like very few were into Bitcoin, very few understand the bullish case for Bitcoin. And if you're here watching this now and we helped you get on the right side, leave a comment below. You have no, I share them with my wife all the time. Absolutely, absolutely love it. Kimmy Basics, I love that one because that is also going to be very helpful as we go to the next part of this session. But right now, I just want to remind all of you, when I was showing you, this is the chart everyone was looking at. And I was like, soon this chart over here is going to be a small blip. And I went back. I don't have it here on the Coinbase feed, but if I was using a Bitstamp feed or a BLX feed, I went back to the high of the 2013 top, and I showed you how small that top looked now. And I told you that this top is soon going to look small. And that was hard for people to conceptualize. It really was. It really was. Samex, could you have the CTM 2-point indicators at the same time to see what, yeah. 1 second. All right. Well, that's towards the end of the session. We have that set up. That's for the end of the session over here. And it's actually showing you on the next line of repair, Samex, that how we have a buy signal setting up, exiting that short. But that's for later. All right. We will get to that. Everyone's on the same page. So look over here. And then what happened was, that did become a small little blip. It became a small little blip. It's going to happen again. People are looking now at $69,000 and they're like, oh, $69,000. That's going to soon be nothing but a small little blip in history. And people are going to be wishing, $55,000 Bitcoin. That's cheap. I wish I had some. Bitcoin is trading right now at $41,000. Well under that $55,000 Bitcoin. Well underneath that $69,000 Bitcoin. And people are selling their Bitcoin. People are bearish on Bitcoin. Let's take a look at this over here. I just want to zoom out and talk about these lines of repairs over here. And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to start at the top. If you took this one over here, this number 1, right? Stop loss down over here. Or if you had this, there's another big wick. Look familiar? Or if you had the stop loss over here, either which one, it doesn't matter. Once it's stopped out, it comes at the same place. You then go ahead and you change this line of repair off of the wick up over here. I'm going to zoom out over here. Next time that you have an entry over here, $1,100, right? And then stop loss all the way down over here. That's stopped out. Move the line, right? When do we move the line? You're not stopped out until over here. Moving the line. One more entry. This one's going to be stopped out as well, right? This is the third. Stop loss right under there. That's a really good risk to reward. I love this trade. Can you imagine Bitcoin going from $6,000 to $19,000 to $40,000 with a stop loss like that? Nevertheless, that's stopped out over here one more time. Once it's stopped out, I'm going to move this line of repair to the high where it's stopped out. And then over there, last entry, number 4, Bitcoin, $35,000. That's how you trade out of a bear market. Over here, we're currently on the second potential entry, line of repair, happened February 4th. We made sure as it happened, everyone's aware. Here we are, right? Forget all the nonsense. Simplify it. Make it a lot easy. Made a bunch July 2020, early April. Great guidance. Great. I'm so glad that you're here, Mo. So glad that you're here. All right, let's keep going. I want to take a look over here. This was posted in the CTM community chat, right? Crypto Stew or Reza. Forgot. And, this is, by the way, if you're not familiar with Jurian from the director of Global Macro Fidelity, great podcast he did with Preston Fish. Highly recommend that one. That's a really good podcast. It's one of actually the best I listened to all year. Nice insight across all markets. And what Jurian is doing is he's noticing that what Bitcoin is an S curve, right? Oh, wait, who else? CTM has noticed that what Bitcoin is not some diminishing returns, log regression channel, but exponential turns of tech adoption in an S curve. And he's done things like look at it in relation to Apple, right? Side by side comparison. They're very different animals, but they have similar paths as dictated by their network growth. And this is the main thing to pick up when it comes to Bitcoin. It's the network growth. We're right now at 200 million users, headed by 2024 to a billion users. Right now, you are an early adopter if you hold on to your Bitcoin. We will soon find out. And then over here, what he's doing is he's lining this up. His path is a little bit different. We're going to talk about that in 1 second. He's using, right, mobile phone users, and he's also using the internet. You can see over here in like this pinkish color, that's the mobile phone users. Below it is the internet. And you can see that price has been following this growth path thus far. Now, it was mentioned a little bit earlier about Bitcoin being a monetary commodity, right? And the one difference here compared to whether you're looking at the mobile phone or the adoption of the internet or the adoption of the gazillion other things. By the way, you could take this model over here. It doesn't matter if you're looking at Amazon. It doesn't matter if you're looking at Airbnb. It doesn't matter if you're looking at Nvidia. You could look at so many different techs that have followed this S-curve adoption. Nevertheless, this is being compared to mobile phone growth, right? Or the internet. One difference is here, though, is that Bitcoin is a lot more. Remember, Bitcoin's a lot of things to a lot of people. And just off the growth alone, yeah, most likely it's following a similar path to this, but you also have that financial aspect of Bitcoin. And if at any point in time you see that tsunami of liquidity opened up, when Michael Saylor talks about all your models are broken, he's talking about all them breaking to the upside, which eventually, if Bitcoin continues to do Bitcoin things, most likely will happen as we see the dying death throes of fiat currently occurring in our lifetime as we transition into the new future. There's a really strong chance that you're going to see the implosion of the credit markets as that happens, regardless of the growth that's taking place. This thing is probably going to shoot to the upside. When we have this little bit of a model here, what we're looking at is projected rates. CTM has used these log trend lines, for quite a while now, I think that it was first introduced on CTM in January of 2021. It might have been December of 2020, but right around this area over here, we started adding these log trend lines over here. And you could see that, maybe this is the path of the ultimate market opportunity. Maybe. I think it's the best thing to go off of as we continue forward. If you look over here, here's a little bit of a different rendition of it. And you could see that it's this is the hype phase, though. I think people get confused when they use the hype phase and include that into the direction of the trend lines. Nevertheless, I think it's a good model. What I like about this chart is it's projecting that, at the 2024 halving, that there's a good chance, no one knows, no one has a crystal ball, that potentially Bitcoin will be trading at $100,000. We'll see. Now, in the past, what I did, right, I would take, before the halving over here, this halving, by the way, COVID crash is a big deal. Because if we didn't have the COVID crash, my projection was that at the halving price was going to be around $10,500. How I came to that number was I would take the high, I would take the price at the last halving, divide by 2. It works over here for this halving over here. And if you do that right now, you're looking at somewhere around Bitcoin $38,000, $39,000. So if the high is $69,000, right, you're potentially looking at potentially, no one knows, right? Now, potentially something like $38,000, $39,000. If you're looking at Bitcoin having around $100,000, most likely we take out that $69,000 high before we reach the 2024 halving. Here we talk about the dip from the halving in 2024. And are we going to dip into the halving? Are we going to be hugging this trend line again, as we did coming into the last halving, as we did coming into that other halving over here? Probably, most likely, we will see. Nevertheless, let's take a look at it like this. This is lined up from the halving. I'm just going to draw in something visually to help you understand. Let's say we were having something like diminishing returns. Okay. And why I'm using diminishing returns is because it just makes sense that, well, we'd be trading underneath the last projection, measured from scale from the halving. This in blue is the 2016 cycle. So this is the COVID crash over here. So, you would expect it to be below diminishing returns. And if that's occurring right now, where price currently is, let me just show you again where price currently is. Could it go lower? Of course it'd go lower. Could it go higher? Of course it'd go higher. Do you really know? No, you don't know. Well, do you have something like CTM 2.0 so that you know what you should be in the market, when you should be out of the market, when you should be long? Yeah, you do. But we're not talking about that right now. We're giving that better perspective over here. Right now, if you're potentially looking at, this zone over here, this is like a golden accumulation zone. Golden accumulation zone that we're in right now. And everyone should be looking forward towards that 2024, regardless if price goes ahead and makes a new all-time high, right? By the way, a lot of people looking at diminishing returns, they don't expect price to make that higher high than $69,000. Some people looking at lengthening cycles and do expect price to make a new all-time high. And then you have people looking at the new structure taking place within Bitcoin. We're going to try to marry all of them, right? Being open to everything and just making sure that we stay on the right side. Now, let's take a look at it like this. From the April, we looked at this in yesterday's session, lining this up as if the April was the high. I know price made a higher high in November, but so many on-chain indications, traditional indications point to April actually being the high. And let's do that same thing over there. And then you're looking at, again, are we looking at somewhere around the next halving, price trading somewhere around $60,000? Or are we looking more along the lines of our trend line over here, price trading somewhere around, let's call it, where's the halving? I want to get it exact. The halving occurs right over here. So you're looking at $100,000. That's $110,000, right? If we stay along that trend line, that lines up really well to something like this. Hold on one second. Where, by the way, you're early. You're an early adopter if you're into Bitcoin right now. We have not even made the jump into liftoff to the ultimate market opportunity. And the major gains are to be had. I know it gets confusing when people constantly remind you about diminishing returns, but you will still find out what is up. And there you go. Over here, you have what would be $100,000, a little above. That kind of coincides with our trend line of where price should be around the halving. This over here would be worst case scenario. This extended white line, if you're looking at like diminishing returns and price not making a new all-time high, right? Something like this path of trajectory would be taking place, and you are very close to the bottom. I know you are very close to the bottom, right? Anyway, let's keep going. Let's get into the charts a little bit. And I'm going to start over here. I already mentioned what's going on with the 10-year. I feel like we're seeing equity markets rally. NASDAQ up 1.7%, Bitcoin up 2.3%. And that's mainly because we're seeing dollar come off, yields come off. It's too soon until we get the breakdown to know whether or not we should expect some follow through. Let's keep going. Let's take a look over here. Here's that trend line over here that we looked at yesterday where price has found a little bit of support right now. It's very easy. I mean, it's very clean. It's very clear. And again, a breakdown of this trend line, right? That then brings into play the lower end of this bear channel. That's currently this bear channel. This bear flag, right? There's a giant bear flag over here potentially develop. People are very worried about it. People are very concerned. There are a lot of people out there, by the way. The people that are trying at this particular time, there's a big difference from like, getting neutral, taking profits at $53,000 because there was a technical breakdown, to people over here between $30,000 and $40,000 getting bearish and then trying to time the market to potentially buy it maybe at $25,000 if that occurs. They're on the wrong side of the market. They're on the wrong side of the trade. And the reason is because they're trying to play catch up. They feel like they don't own enough Bitcoin. And what they're trying to do is get cute in order to get more Bitcoin. Most likely what happens is that they get further in a hole and further left behind. If you are buying Bitcoin at $40,000, or after like you believe that Bitcoin has recovered to $55,000, you are looking with or without, right, Fabio, with or without hyper Bitcoinization, diminishing returns it's just not the path that you've seen tech follow. Tech does not follow diminishing returns. That's not the history. We have too many examples of otherwise. Now, as the curve flattens out, as we get, over here to the top of the curve, probably sometime between 2028 and 2032, in this, at that point, you will experiencing diminishing returns for sizzles. There's no question about that. But you're over here right now. You haven't even made the jump. You're over here right now, and we're not, and by the way, when you're looking at technology, right, you could look at something like Microsoft, which was able to follow this S-curve adoption and then reach this area over here, sustainable market, until cloud computing came out. And then it was able to find a new way to make another leg up. That could also potentially happen with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin could just, off adoption alone, reach some type of sustainable market, right? Start experiencing for sure diminishing returns, and then something new could happen where it's like the Bitcoin standards adapted, and then you could start seeing another move up. Well, again, it's all very fluid. So let's take a look before we go forward. Let me jump in. You can see right now, I like to get rid of these lines, but I also like for us to keep the history of everything we've done in real time, like the sell impulse over here on the double black diamond, the conservative breakdown, right? We had this trend line over there that price came into, and then when it broke down, we had the next big leg down. And I just want to focus on what's in front of us, right? And you can see right now, price into this trend line, actually holding as resistance. Like that line was obviously drawn in before we've backed off a little bit, but you could see the resistance that we're in. CTM 2.0, you could see that if we do get a breakout by the next signal period, you will have first of all, an exit from the short signal. The current short trade that you're in will be exiting, and then you will be looking at a buy signal on the upside. I take that back. You won't. You would just be neutral. You would just be neutral because you would not have I don't even want to get into the particulars right now, but obviously you would not have a buy signal. I'll do that in 1 second with you. Let me first continue over here. This was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful post shared in the CTM community chat last night. I, of course, read it with my wife. It pertains to me also, especially for this Friday, so I want to share it with you. It said sappy post alert, right? This week is one of the most pivotal weeks of the year for me personally. It's Holy Week, the final week of Lent, which caps off a season of reflection, gratitude, and acts of charity. A few years ago, I would never have imagined the thought of a group that studies the markets together and learns from one another being somewhat that would come on my list of reflection during Holy Week. However, after having been a part of this amazing group for 2 years now, it is very evident as to why so many people hold this group in such high esteem. This is about more than just the markets. This is a place of community where brothers and sisters come together to help one another for the greater good of the collective. The amount of giving back I see here on a daily basis is humbling. For me too. It has not only helps me to improve my market skills, but also gives me great joy to observe the interaction of everyone present here and the selflessness shown on a daily basis. And to Jordan, our coach, mentor, shepherd, much gratitude for you for this amazing place you have built. The hive mind is real. The giving back is real. Taking this to the next level is real. Can you imagine what we've done? This is truly a testament to the heart you pour into your work. Thank you. So, as I personally go a little quieter over the next few days to focus on the importance of the days ahead, know that I am grateful for this community. I know this group will be available to help me get caught back up next week as the learning and development here never stops. We're running, right? Exciting days ahead as the Hive Mind continues to soar to new heights under Jordan's leadership and CTM 2.0 to heights we never imagined yet. God bless. Reza, I've never seen any place like it here. It's exceptional. Thank you from the heart. And the same goes for me. On this Friday, we will have no session. On this Friday, it's Good Friday, and I will take it as a day of reflection, of prayer, of penance, obviously fasting, and then we'll see what happens on Saturday, though. Saturday's a work day, no question about it, and maybe or maybe not, we'll have a session then. Or most likely what I'm going to be doing, we've covered so much work. We've covered so much in the last 3 weeks that I probably will start going back and editing those sessions. So those that are just joining us are able then to go ahead and experience all of that. Let's just call it beautifulness. Thank you for being here, everyone. I hope that you have a beautiful day. Thank you for sharing in this. We will be doing regular uploads. So make sure if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, you go ahead, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, and make sure that you stay with us. We're going to do our best to stay on the right side of the most important trade that matters.